This is the On All Cylinders podcast,
powered by Summit Racing.
Your host for today is Summit Racing's Jim Grasso, with special guests, FarmTruck and AZN from Street Outlaws.
Here we go.
Jim Grasso here with Summit Racing, and this week we have FarmTruck and AZN. You guys don't really need any introductions. I'm sure everybody knows who you are. Appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. So what's going on, fellas? What are we going to chat about? What's new? What's the builds going? And I have to say that I've sold a lot of parts in my 30 years of selling parts, but I've sold the most unusual parts to both of you in these very peculiar builds. I've never had to order an 8-foot, 3/4-inch double D steering shaft for anybody. But if you want to elaborate on that for our viewers, that would be cool.
Ed used it. He used that. Yeah, he did.
That was the Lamborghini build.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
We were going to steer it from way up high. And then we got the idea to make it a little bit safer and get on the inside and steer it from there.
So when you say way up high, are we talking like 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet, or are we talking like
5 foot?
Our heads would have been probably 6-7 feet in the air.
Yeah. And the goal of that Lamborghini, I don't know, we couldn't call it Zamboni on the episode.
Yeah, we couldn't say Zamboni.
There was like trademark issues.
Ice resurfacer.
Oh, okay. So there was like some weird integration. We're not sure. But we were going to make that thing like a wheelie machine at first.
Sure.
Right? There was all these concepts and ideas. And we were like, all right, what if we ballast ourselves at the very top and leverage that as we're the weight? But then we're like, wow, that's super dangerous.
Yeah.
Right.
And we were going to do it on ice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? That's, traction's never an issue on ice, right? You're good with that.
Especially for a wheelie.
Yeah. And then we were going to like build a cage around us.
Right.
And we scrapped that idea, but then it came out better than we thought it was going to.
That's right.
And they're happy with it. And it's actually in Vegas still. It sits at their arena there.
Now, I can't remember. What was the power plant in that particular unit?
We did a 6.4 Hemi. It was an SRT8 engine. It was pretty much a rebuilt SRT8 engine from Modern Muscle Extreme. They helped me out with the Jeep, and so they wanted to be a part of a project. And we thought, okay, this is a good one where we can just throw a crate motor style engine in there and see what it does, because we didn't have any expectation.
Modern Muscle Extreme, they wanted to make a full-blown race car out of this deal. And we thought, if we're going to be way up high, 7-8 feet in the air, we better bring it on down to size a little bit.
And protect the driver as well.
That's right.
Right. No, I get it. So, I hate to ask this, but I'm going to ask it. Where does these ideas come from?
Well, AZN and I both, we always share ideas, and we come up with the ideas together. Sometimes most of our ideas start off with, I really have a bad idea that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And that's usually, what's said in the beginning.
It's usually hear me out.
Right.
Yeah. Usually it's just we kind of do it around the vehicle. We forget that there's even a driver in the vehicle. We're like, all right, what would this vehicle look like if we built it? But then we're like, oh, someone's got to drive it. And that's exactly what happened at the Zamboni.
Right.
We thought, oh, this is going to be some cool build and it's going to do this. And then like, wait a second. How do we keep the drivers safe? I'm like, wait a second, we're the drivers.
Yeah.
So it was.
We just thought, if it got squirrely at all, you wouldn't want to be seat belted in if something bad happened.
Right.
So you wouldn't be seat belted in. You'd be really high in the air, and if it swerved, it could throw you right off.
Right. So a lot of these projects, they just kind of end up as sketches on the wall, or just ideas in the head. Or the mad scientist comes over and draws on the ground and says, all right, what if we do it this way? More ideas get scrapped than get put on paper. So it's there's a lot of ones that are in the book still that we still want to build that are, hey, some are budget friendly and some are beyond the budget. And that's kind of what happens, right? We kind of stay within our means financially to whatever we can create, whatever's relatable. I think that's kind of what we saw with with Gas Monkey Garage. I think we all somewhat, whether we want to admit it or not, fell in love with Aaron Kaufman's style of building, right? And we were all like, oh, cool. They're flipping these vehicles. They're taking these 50s, 60s style vehicles, and they're flipping them real quick. They're putting some wheels on them, some airbags. And I think everyone thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And I love that. And then we kind of saw what happened. We kind of saw the shop turn into a celebrity of its own. We saw that they needed to keep jumping the shark. And we didn't want to we definitely didn't want want to become that. And we thought that we could avoid that by just building one-off things. How can you jump the shark when it's never been jumped before? And so we definitely didn't want to outgrow ourselves with these and build Ferraris and build Lamborghinis and put a R8 engine in a DeLorean. That stuff's cool, but it's just you reach a certain point, I think, of
I don't know
what's next.
An R8 in a DeLorean.
Oh,
that sounds like a good build.
That's $100,000 just in parts.
Sure. Never mind.
You know what? To be honest, though, for my generation, let's think about the Batmobile, George Barris, these one-off cars that inspired people to take a hammer to a piece of metal and just not bolt it on. So you guys are really living the same dream, if you will. I mean, there's a lot going on with slinging stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks, put it on paper, and then start welding, fabricating. I think it's really cool. I know that the farm boat, when you sent me the picture of that, I went, why is the farm truck on water? I didn't get it at first. And then I realized, well, you put a boat underneath it and got a body and did things like that. Those are the icons that'll go down. And, those are in 50 years. That's what another generation is going to be talking about. You remember that? You remember that?
That's cool.
That's cool. You're the first person that's ever said that.
Yeah.
We were a little worried that the ideas were so far out there that people really wouldn't take to them, that they really wouldn't like them. That was a worry of ours. It didn't last too long. We just said, screw it, build it anyway. It's what we want to do. And we know that everyone's not going to love everything we build because they're all unusual. And,
it's just like any artist, it's rare that every song on your album is going to be a hit.
That's right.
And so you're going to like some more than others. And we just did what we thought was creative at the time. And a lot of it's new, right? And so a lot of it's first to bat, first to swing. Right. And, how do you look for inspiration when it's never been done before? So a lot of the stuff was just sculpted strictly from the mind, and it came out how it came out. Might have changed things if we could go backwards, might improve things, but for the most part, I think everything pretty much turned out the way that it should have.
How about the no driver hearse? Did it hit 10 seconds? How did that go?
It did. It broke into the tens. Okay. We were really proud for a vehicle, that was, 7,300 pounds. We were thrilled with that. We think that we really didn't have enough time on the show to really tune it and test it and get it done the way that we wanted to. And that was with all the builds, really. Mm-hmm. The things that we did were the first time out, like the world record. That was the first attempt at the world record for the world's longest burnout. And we were amazed that all of them worked. They were all unusual, but they all worked on the first time. There were a couple of failures in there, but I don't know, man. It was a miracle to us that everything worked the first time.
I know, I'm not sure. I was at Jeff Lutz's shop and I seen the hearse up close. The workmanship, just the design was just incredible. Until people see it up close and in front of them, they just think, it's a heaped up old hearse. But the ingenuity, engineering behind it is really cool.
The whole goal of that is I wanted to leave it as natural as possible, because whenever we got it had sat on 4 flats for 30 years. The floors were rusted out of it. I didn't even want to take the spider that was living in it out of the car. I wanted to leave it there, and it was on Asian's side, and Asian don't like spiders, so
that's okay.
So he eradicated it.
Yep.
It was either the spider or Asian, so the spider.
I get it. I'm sure he was relocated safely to a nice home and an upgrade of where he was.
That's right. Anyway, we just wanted it to be a sleeper. We didn't want you to be able to see anything from a distance and think that it was anything else but an old hearse. We had to put that bullhorn on. Tracks will require a bullhorn on a diesel so you don't soot the track, because the exhaust actually runs out the back bumper, and there's some vents in the back bumper. Anyway, we were pleased with the outcome of it. It turned out just like I imagined it would, except for the spider.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
So, Asian, I know that the Church Boys redid your 4-door Mordor Nova, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's Church Boys has kind of, they've taken the leap. They've jumped off, and I think Chuck has kind of done his own thing. He had a cush job. He was working many years under the same company, and he finally said, "Hey, now's the opportunity for me and my family."
Sure.
I've worked for somebody else for so long. I've given them the respect and the priority, and I think Chuck is shifting gears a little bit and saying, "I think I can do it on my own." And he's doing it. And I think that he's gotten himself, a bigger trailer. He's investing more heavily into the events that he was attending before, but now just more involved. And he's asked us if we'd like to be more involved in what he's doing. And of course, for what he's done for us and the heart that he shows to us and to every one of his customers, and the guy's first class. He's top shelf. So
that guy is amazing. Asia and I both are fascinated with him because he loved Chevy 2s, as he was growing up, and he looked for parts and there were none. So he made them himself, and then other people saw the parts and said, "Hey, can you make me one of those?" And the next thing you know, he started his own business. And there you have it, man. It's an awesome American story.
It really is.
And there's many other things in the car world that need to be invented. And that if you can't find something, make it. And you might have your own Chuck Church story.
That's true.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
That's all he did. He just kind of took what designs already existed, which was great. Even when I was trying to hot rod my Chevy, I think there was maybe a TCI kit. Maybe there was. But then Chuck came out and now everybody has their own version of that kit, that Mustang 2 style subframe. But for me, now we see past the product and we look into the people behind the products.
Sure.
Right. That's been more important to us now than anything. Heck, we've been with, Nitrous Express, for so long.
Yeah.
And it's because of the people. Right.
That's right.
I don't care. I could get a solenoid that stucks and I lose my race. I don't care. I'm sticking with it. Right. Because of the people, because I know it's not their fault. Right. I know that they do everything they can to make everything as good as possible. And they take it personal too when something doesn't go right. I think too many people jump ship and try to naysay certain things, along the path to discredit. It's our fault if something goes wrong. Right. It's our fault. So, we look at Chuck, and Chuck has gone through this journey, and he's really put the pieces in place to make mistakes. And I think that he's really on the path to turn Church Boys into something big.
So how many miles have you put on it since then? Or have you had any time to put any miles on it?
That car's probably too special to me to go into deep conversation about it, but it's probably less than 10 miles.
Sure.
I leave it up there. I would love nothing more than to cruise Route 66 with that car. But there's a piece of me that feels like I don't really deserve it. Chuck did so much for us there with FarmTruck finding the car and Lou and Ed, and they all kind of keeping the secret to rebuild the thing.
Right.
The car means so much to me that I don't feel like I deserve it. And so it's up in Ohio.
It's up at Church Boys still?
Yeah, I really think that I'm going to benefit from the selfishness of owning it. But I really think they're going to gain a little bit more leverage. They're a growing company, and if they can use that as a marketing tool or a mascot for their builds in the future, or if it attracts attention, I can put it in my garage and it will sit there. And we could do YouTube videos about it and stuff like that. But I just think that it's more advantageous for Church Boys to keep it for a little bit longer and to enjoy it for themselves as well.
Or maybe it's in Ohio because you can't go jump in the barn and fire it up. Maybe that's FarmTruck's way of keeping it away from you.
We have been very busy in the past couple of years building all these things for the FarmTruck and AZN show. So there wouldn't have been time anyway.
Right. And we all have that car anyways, right? You spend your labor, love, and your money, and all of a sudden life takes over for whatever reason. And
that's right.
It gets parked in the corner, and
there's not very many stories out there where the car that you regretted selling actually finds its way back. Right. It's hard. There's just a handful of stories like that. Yeah. So we feel very fortunate.
We should start a site like for lost cars.
That's actually a great idea.
It is a great idea.
Great idea. Yes. And I think that, we can't beat ourselves I can remember why I sold it. I can remember the situation I was in. I can remember everything. And I don't think it was avoidable. Right. I think that's what happens most of the time when people sell these vehicles is they're hit with an unavoidable circumstance where they need the funds.
That's right.
You need it right. Like a baby's on the way. And there is a priority that's greater than our own selfishness. And I think that,
Well, you wouldn't have been able to store it. You wouldn't have been able to take care of it.
I wouldn't have.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of parking it out back under the oak tree and getting ruined, you let it go.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know, for someone else to enjoy.
That's right.
Yep.
And crazy enough, 10 years later, when, FarmTruck located it, it was exactly the same. Nobody touched it. Nobody.
That's right.
They didn't even improve it. I wish they would have improved it a little.
When I first met Asian, he was listening to the Beach Boys cruising on Route 66. And whenever we found that car, the same CD was still in the CD player.
Yeah, it was the nitrous bottle that FarmTruck had filled was still in there.
Yeah.
The original key, the keychain.
That's incredible.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And it had traded hands several times in the Carolinas somewhere where it went. And the car was just exactly the same. There was
The nitrous bottle was empty.
It was empty.
So someone figured out how to do that.
Yeah, there's a little more surface rust on it, but it was just it's a true miracle story for a car guy, for everything to be the same.
It's funny when you come across, a car like that, you buy a car and you start reaching in there. And I bought a car, I don't know, a few years ago, and I reached under the seat and a time slip was in there. And I was like,
Nice.
Holy cow. I can't believe the car went this fast.
Yeah.
When you get an old car or something, you go through it and be like, holy cow, a receipt from California, it's here in Ohio or wherever you're at, but it really brings a story.
We enjoy that. That's one of our favorite things to do when we get a vehicle is to go through it, take the carpet out, and then find the previous owners.
Oh yeah, like the Walker wagon.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like we had purchased that 63 Nova wagon from Barrett Jackson, which was previously owned by Paul Walker. And, it had some of his verification in there. It had his name on some of the documents, had his address on some of the stuff. And it was just cool to go back through whatever history's left behind. I don't know. We're all just trying to be archaeologists and figure out the vehicles, whereabouts.
Yeah. That is a perfect analogy. We are really, because I do the same thing. The first thing I do is pull the seats out and see what's in the back. Quarters.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? You wrappers.
You find coins and check the date.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So on that note, what's the craziest thing you found? Keep it clean.
Yeah, I don't know. We found some old build sheets from the factory.
Oh, wow.
That was kind of cool.
From vehicles that we've found, probably not much exciting. I found a gun one time. It was an old rusty gun.
Wow.
It was like a 22 that somebody had hid at one point under where they cut the carpet and then they slid it in the tunnel or next to the tunnel. But I gave it back to the original owner. So that I didn't know whose it was or what it was connected to. But it was just an old 22. I'm sure it was nothing.
Tell us a little bit about that Airstream. I didn't catch too much of the
trailer race,
the information on it. So if you could share, that would be wonderful too.
That idea started when I was a kid and I always wanted to build it. And, finding all the right components and getting some help, from the show allowed that to come to life. I'd seen a camper come off the hitch and pass us and it slid off over on the side of the road. And at first I thought, is someone driving that? And then from then on, I always wanted to build it and we were able to do it. We found that 40s era camper and the 1977 Chevy short van, which made the perfect platform to make that thing come to life. We were going to call it the blind spot for obvious reasons.
Right.
It couldn't have turned out better. That's my favorite build. I love that thing. It's such a shocker. We love driving that thing around and, passing people on Route 66. And you either get a big smile or you get a shock look on their face. But the ones that get me are we pass them and they don't even notice. That's the ones that get me.
Those are straight. Yeah, they've got their blind spots on.
Right.
That's right.
In their world. But I credit that to it. He did such a good job with it. Why would they look at it? Why would you look at it? It looks like a camper, right? Like, and so, and if they weren't paying attention, then they won't. They'll see what they think their brain is supposed to see. It's weird because, FarmTruck and I aren't big practical jokers in the sense that we don't try to prank people. There's not a water balloon above everybody's door. There's not a mouse trap in the toolbox.
Right,
we're not big prankers, but we kind of like trolling, right? Like
Sure.
the farm truck was our first troll. It was rolling through town.
That's right.
And trying to pick races with people that wanted to pick races with us first.
Right.
And so we kind of like the trolling. We let the vehicle kind of do all the setting up, all the talking for itself. And then we help the vehicle, you know, whether it's taking bets or you know, just a head fake on the street. It's the vehicle's kind of the joke in itself. We're just facilitating its ability.
Right. Well, you're just reactionary people. You like to see people's reactions, right? But
That's right.
That's it.
The funny part is when you mention when people don't look at something like that, you always wonder, what have they seen in their life if they're not worried about a trailer going down the highway with nothing holding it? So it's really cool. But you're right. You know, the ones that don't do that, you're kind of makes you a little even more curious. Like, what would it take? Light it on fire, or should we, land an airplane on?
That's
top?
right. Yeah.
Or maybe they've just seen too much. Maybe they're just so over it. They're just like, I've seen it before.
Yep. But those are the things, the Airstream, some of the other things that you've built. Again, it's just neat to see that kind of stuff out of the box. I always tell folks, embrace the passion regardless of what it is.
I think that ideas come easy. People come up with ideas all the time. It's the follow through. It's the work that you have to put in to make it happen. People come at us with ideas all the time, and I immediately encourage them to do it. It's their idea, and it's a great idea, and they should do it instead of us. I know a lot of people don't have means to do it. Some huge build, like the Airstream. Still, there are ways. Back in the day, a quick story about my engine builder. I needed some motor work done, and he needed his kitchen remodeled. So I drove the 4 hours north in Salina, Kansas to work on his house. And he put my motor together. I think I drove for 3 months straight every weekend to his house to build cabinets and set tile and sinks, plumbing, paint, you name it. So I traded my skills that I had at the time for an awesome motor that I could put in the farm truck. So you don't necessarily have to have money to accomplish these goals. Trade your skills. You can make it happen.
The passions are the things that are stupid. They're the silly things in your brain that don't make you no money, that your friends are going to make fun of you for. Those are truly the things you got to chase, because everything else has already been done. It's easy to follow that path. Or, hey, I think that you just got to really pursue those passions. And then it's like, how do you do that? It's like, well, it's one step in front of the other every day, right?
That's right.
It's one bolt at a time, every time. And every project's the same. That's one thing that we look at now. It's like, oh, well, how do you do it? Well, okay, let's draw it out. That's first. Look at it. What do we need to buy? Okay, well, let's buy that part first to see if it even fits. And then once you commit to it, everyone else will commit to it.
Right.
Yeah, everyone will say it's stupid until you start doing it. And then they're like, I want to do it. Right. And so it's just like, hey, do you guys want to play a board game? Well, no one wants to play a board game until someone gets the game out. Get it out, start setting it up and say, hey, I don't know about you guys, but I'm playing Jenga today. Right.
Yeah.
And you got to start. Someone's got to start. And that's usually the snowball effect.
And also, I want to encourage people, do what you can do. You don't have to have this awesome motor in your car. Just get a stock motor running. You can always upgrade it later. All the guys that are started off hot rodding, they got what they had. They worked with what they had.
Yes.
Whenever they were young and as a teenager, they got it running, and then they saved their money. And the next thing you know, they're going fast. And then other people from the outside looking in think, oh, wow, this guy's got a whole bunch of money. Well, he didn't. He just had passion. And he saved his money and made it happen. And it slowly turned into what you see today. So,
and I think the first step to doing something for yourself that's different is to stop ridiculing others that are doing that. Right. When people see the guy with the big banana boat driving down the highway, they're like, oh, he's rich, or that might be all he has. He might be sleeping in that thing. Right. Like, we don't know, but that's his passion. Right. Like, what you have to start doing first is stop criticizing those who are already doing it. And then once you do that, that's actually the very first step. Once you can stop and start praising them, start saying, you know what, that guy's doing it. That guy's doing something different. Once you start doing that, you'll give yourself some confidence to do it for you. That's actually the very first step, to stop being so critical of others.
We always say inspire the passion, regardless. Everybody's project, regardless of what it is, car, truck, Jeep, it doesn't matter. It's their passion. It's what they're proud of. And like you said, you know what? You need to inspire them. And that's the most important thing.
Right.
It's the right thing to do. What else? What else we got to cover? What did we miss? Only like the last 10 years or anything else going on?
Hey, I think there's a car person turning 16 every day, right?
That's right.
Sure.
And they don't know anything. They don't, or maybe they know a little, but they're just not going to know everything, right? And so I think that we kind of fit the mold where we're constantly people, I think people outgrow who we are because we kind of stay in our lane, right? They want to see us build a pro mod. They want to see us do backflips in monster trucks, but that's just not us. We're still in kind of the teaching and learning mode. And I think we'll always kind of stay in that lane. So kind of going back what you said, it's we're trying to keep that passion. We're trying to keep people keep it relevant so that people can see us and say, oh, maybe I could do that. At least have a mile marker to reach. You know what?
I don't think that I don't know what particular words to use, but our historical video, if that's such a thing, or documents. I watched the 1967 NHRA Spring Nationals, and you look there, they were, top fuel. There was two guys, they had whatever they could on the car. I looked at there, they had like a dually with a trailer, and look what we've come to. You know what I mean? We need to take it to the next step.
Yeah.
You need to inspire those folks because everybody doesn't have money, but you have ingenuity. In FarmTruck, that's what you were saying. You keep working at it.
That's right.
And you just keep chipping away as you can. That's all that you could do.
A quick story. Whenever I bought the farm truck a long time ago, I was in construction and I had a guy working for me and we rode around in it and it was, 14 seconds, which was incredibly fast for a truck that looked as crappy as it did. And he handed me a magazine and it was a Summit magazine. And I thought, well, what am I going to need this for? And then I didn't realize the maintenance of a race car. Anyway, he was a guy that he was just a dreamer. He never built anything, never had anything, but he had that magazine and he would flip through it and it would inspire him to do things. So I started having problems with the farm truck. And then I thought, hey, where's that magazine? And I started flipping through it, and it would inspire me what to build, how to build. Later on, I'd met AZN. We started, racing together. And when we would lose a race, that magazine was therapy because we lost, and we would go back to the shop and we'd start flipping through and, hey, if we had that, then we'd outrun that guy,
Right.
It always made us feel better. So I worry, about, all these magazines going virtual. Is that the right word?
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
And hopefully that never happens. I'm sure it costs a lot of money to print that magazine, but I always just love just flipping through the magazine and the inspiration that you get from that. I guess I need to learn how computer works.
I think that's true. I mean, he's talking about, us car guys having these rituals. Right. Win or lose, we have a ritual.
Yes.
Right.
That's right.
And so when you win your race, my car never needs to be any faster than it is now.
That's
ever.
Right.
It's the fastest thing on the planet. When you lose, I don't know why it's so slow. Right. It was always, I would look through those catalogs and I couldn't believe that stuff could be purchased. I couldn't believe it. Right. And so it was always like an inspiration to me to say, anyone can buy this stuff. And, in my mind, I'm just like, no, how do people get this stuff? And then from that point, I kind of, it fed my entrepreneurial desires. Like, okay, well, you have to have money. Okay, well, money. All right, well, I'll trade money for this. So it became about accumulating money to be able to make my car faster. Right. Sure. And so I kind of grew up in the industry as an entrepreneur, but also as a car guy. But those magazines early in the day taught me what it takes to be an American. You can have anything that you see if you work hard enough for it.
Yeah. Gold in the streets, they say, right? Gold in the streets.
Right.
You just got to commit and you have to work hard at it. And we appreciate you taking the time today. It's always a pleasure to chat with you too.
All right.
Jim.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
This has been the On All Cylinders podcast.
Powered by Summit Racing.
Check out new episodes coming soon at OnAllCylinders.com.
OnAllCylinders.com.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.